Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the very first of hopefully many videos that I will post on here. So I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about who I am, what my channel is going to be about, and all that. So let's get right into it. So my name is Katie Mast.
I'm married to an incredible man. We've been married for a little over 4 years.
We have one son, just turned 4 years old, and then I'm pregnant with a little baby girl. So we're very excited. I wanted to start this channel to help women, girls, or pretty much anybody who came from a culture similar to what I came from, because I have been through so much from transitioning, and it's hard and you shouldn't do it alone. So I want this channel to be a resource for you, just for any questions and for guidance. I want to use what God has taught me and help people find freedom. A little bit about my background. I was raised Amish, so Pennsylvania Dutch Amish. I was raised in a decent-sized community in Wisconsin. It was called Bondua, Wisconsin. We lived there until I was 10 years old, I believe. I was born in Bloomfield, Iowa, so my parents lived in Bloomfield, Iowa for quite a few years. And we moved to Wisconsin when I was like a little bitty baby. I had pretty good growing up years. I don't have any major like trauma. I am very, very blessed to have had a good life, a good home life. When I was 14 years old, my parents, there was issues in the church. I was too young to really understand, but my oldest sister was part of the young folks. She was a really shy person. She did not like the community at all. She didn't fit in. She was very unhappy. My parents were having issues with other people in the church, and ultimately we moved from Wisconsin to McBain, Michigan. And that was the beginning of my teens. A new move, everything was new. I had one more year to finish in school, so I was in 8th grade. That year was I feel bad for my teacher that year. It was a guy that I am good friends with now. He's amazing. He did what he could. But I was confused, I was troubled, I was rebellious. That year was just really rough. So yeah, we lived there until I was 17 years old, I believe. And then that church kind of had another split. I'll go much more into detail on a later video about all the things with my upbringing, because there's so much to talk about. I can't possibly get it all into this one. I want this to be a little bit of a shorter, more introductory video. Michigan was more, it wasn't a New Order church, but it was more, we thought we were really better people now, because this church talked more about God. They did more godly things, and it was just, I don't know, but I think that's where I was forced into more like deception and just abuse of power, and abuse of God's word, abuse of the Bible even. And that's what that community scarred me a lot. And it was also in that community that I was raped when I was 15. So I don't have too fond memories of the community in Michigan. But anyway, at 17, my parents decided to move to Montana. My brother had already moved out there. He was over 21. He was on his own. He had been out there. He really liked it. He hated it in Michigan. So he was out there already. My parents decided we're going to move out there. At this point, I was just waiting until I was 18 years old so I could leave the Amish. I knew from a very young age that I didn't want to be Amish. I wanted more. I knew there was more. I was very confused yet. I thought that if I would leave the Amish, I would automatically go to hell. Like, I could never be a Christian and not be Amish. But in the back of my head, I knew there had to be more to life than this. There had to be something. And then I had some incredible role models. My aunt and one of my cousins had left. Their families had left the Amish culture, and they were living just an English life. And every time I would see them and come around, I was so drawn to them. And I was so confused, because you could tell they had Jesus, they had a relationship with God, like they were just full of Jesus, they were so loving. And so that just started all the questions for me, is like, how can they, if they're going to hell, how can they be so full of Jesus? Like, I want what they have, but if I leave, am I gonna go to hell? Like, see how it was just very confusing. I didn't really have anybody I could talk to. So we moved to Montana, Townsend, Montana, which is where my parents still live at this point. And I had just gone with the mindset that my parents are moving. They knew I hated it in Michigan, so they're kind of moving for me. I need to give this at least a chance and see if I like it here. I was talking to a guy at that point, but we weren't allowed to really date. I wasn't a church member at that point. And that was one of the requirements to be able to date in the community I grew up in, is you had to be 18 and you had to be a church member. So I tried for a couple months. I tried it. I even ended up joining church so that I could date this guy. Well, before I even fully joined church, we completely fell out. We broke up. Things just weren't right. So we broke up. I continued joining church. I became a member. And then not long after that, I realized, you know what, this is a joke. This is not what I want from life. This is not working. I'm not just gonna sit here. There was literally nothing for me to do. There was no jobs in the community. It was, yeah, I needed more. I was bored out of my mind. So I called up a friend, and he drove all the way out from Iowa to Montana to pick me up. And I had gotten a phone. One time I had been going to work with Dad and my brothers. They worked in construction. And one time when I knew that they were going to stop at Walmart, I took my money and I sneakily bought a phone. Somehow, I don't know how I pulled that off without Dad knowing, but somehow I did it. So I had a phone. So I had a way to communicate with people on the outside. So I had this all planned out. He was going to come pick me up in the middle of the night, and I snuck outside. And yeah, I left and never looked back. So that's kind of, in short, my story of where I come from. I went to live with my cousin that I had admired and looked up to for so long. That was really amazing that I could go to a place like that. They really spoke life into me and answered so many questions that I had, and it was a really good resource to have. So yeah, so that's kind of, in short, my story. And then, yeah, I just want this platform to be about finding the truth of who Jesus is and talking about your view of God, what the correct view of God is versus the view that we are taught to have of God in the Amish culture or in any cult, really. Like, it can change your life so drastically, and it can mess with you so bad. And when you don't have a correct view of God and a correct understanding of who he is and what he's like and how he operates and how much he loves you, then you can't possibly have anything else in your life lined out. So that I really feel like that is the core. Having a relationship with Jesus is understanding who he is and what he's like and how much he loves you. So I really want to talk about that in the upcoming videos. I also have a resource, I believe below my bio, you should be able to see a playlist where I have just some of my favorite worship songs. I have those in a playlist there, so you can listen to those anytime you want. Yeah, I'm really excited to start this journey with you guys. And if you have any questions or topics you want me to specifically talk about, please leave them in the comments below, and we will absolutely have to make a video and talk about and discuss those things. But yeah, I'm super stoked about how this is all gonna be used for God's glory, and I just want him to speak through me and provide hope and provide healing. And I really hope that this reaches the audience that I believe that I am called to speak for, and all the young girls and women and anybody from an Amish or Mennonite culture or growing up in a cult or anything like that, because I really do believe it is a cult, because they don't teach the truth about Jesus. So anyway, we will dive into that further in another video. For right now, the end of this episode, I want to leave you with my favorite verse currently. It is in Jeremiah 29:11. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." That's so beautiful. "Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you." So there's just so much hope in that verse, that God is there. He is willing. He is ready. He is not angry. He is anxious for you to come back to him. So I want you guys to just think about that this week, and hopefully next week we'll be back with another episode.